My first blind date was ruined. Dad, don't do that. I looked at the girl in front of me with a bewildered expression. My blind date was angry. You haven't told me you have a daughter. I was about to explain when the girl's mother walked over and smiled at me. Since when did I have a child with my goddess without my knowledge? The target of the blind date wanted me to explain, but I was also in the dark. Her mother, Lu Nuyen, is my goddess. If I had any relationship with her, would I still go on a blind date? The object of the blind date was his younger brother's daughter, whose last name was Batu. She excitedly said, "You dare to lie to me that my mother said I don't know anything. Will she believe it? Dad won't leave any leftovers, right?" The little girl ran over, naturally hugged my leg, tilted her head, and looked at me. The eyes are big, round, black, clear as crystal, innocent, and immature. I felt soft but still shook my head. "But you're not my father." Although I really wanted Lu like Yin, I was not bold enough to accept her as her father. Afraid of being beaten to death by her father, I said, "Let's solve our problem ourselves. Don't let innocent people get in." Lu Nuyen suddenly spoke. Her tone was cold, then turned to talk to the object of my eyesight. "I'll replace Su Cam. Sorry, it's just a misunderstanding." The object of the gaze left angrily. I was confused. What happened to Lu like Yin? "Come home with me." She tapped on the table, motioning for me to follow. I gritted my teeth, trying to suppress my legs that wanted to run after her. "Lu Nuyen, you owe me an explanation. I know I like her very much, but between me and her is purer than water. Why is there a none? She looks a bit like me, but that doesn't prove anything." "Dad." When Lu like Yin looked at me with a gloomy expression, the little girl hugged my leg and said with a self-pitying expression, "Dad, don't you like excess?" I didn't mean that at all. Looking at the little girl who treated me like her own father, I felt sad forever. I'm a 26-year-old young man. I've never held a goddess's hand. How come I'm her daughter's father? At least give me some sweet memories. Lu like Yin didn't explain to me. She just stared at me for a moment, then led me into the main house. I saw the swing under the grape arbor, and an image suddenly appeared in my mind. Under the autumn sunlight, the swing swayed. The woman's laughter echoed in the wind. The swing stopped. The two whispered sweetly and happily. I want to remember the faces of those two people, but it's blurry. An indescribable sadness arose in my heart. I'm stunned. Is this an illusion or reality? If it's an illusion, that's fine. If it's reality, then what am I to witness such a sweet scene? Lu like Yin stopped and looked at me. "What are you thinking?" "The swing over there looks fine." I pointed to the swing. Lu and Yin's eyes suddenly narrowed, but then nodded as if nothing had happened. "Of course." I smiled, pretending not to see her abnormality. She went into the house to do something. I took her to play on the swings. The wind blew gently. I hugged the little girl and played on the swing. The girl laughed. I smiled too, but very quickly, I couldn't laugh anymore. My father called and scolded me. "To Cam, what's wrong with you? I told you to go on a blind date, not to bully people." I quickly put the phone away, waiting for him to calm down before interjecting. "I didn't bully her." My roommate's daughter suddenly ran out and called me dad. Misunderstood by her, I briefly told her the situation, hoping he would sympathize, but unexpectedly he remained silent. "I'm worried. She won't come to Dad's workplace and make a fuss, will she?" "It's just a look. Why are you making so much noise?" My father spoke calmly and said, "Give the phone to her mother. I'll talk to her." I was startled. Dad wouldn't scold her mother, would he? Dad scolded her. What did she do? "To Cam, you really give me a headache." My father's expression changed more quickly. Flipping through the book was peaceful just now, but now he was angry with me. I hurriedly went to find Lu like Yin, but I didn't expect that she was setting up a fruit plate. When I caught her, her face turned a little red, but she quickly calmed down and asked me what was wrong. I said it was my father's request. She frowned at me, then took the phone away. I intended to get closer and eavesdrop, but her eyes were like headlights. As soon as I moved, she narrowed her eyes at me as if not letting me come closer. I find it strange. Is there any secret between her and my father? Suddenly, a small, soft hand held mine. "Daddy wants to play on the swings." Admittedly, her voice is so cute. Who would refuse? Big round black eyes looked at me, eyes filled with trust and love, enough to melt the ice. Not my daughter, but also my goddess's daughter. I cannot refuse. I picked up the baby, sat on the swing, squatted down and said to her, The baby, you have to hold on to both sides of the swing. Don't let go. Do you understand? Thua was very obedient, holding the rope tightly, nodding. Dad is ready. Pushing children on a swing is not easy. I was still distracted looking at Lu like Yin. She was very beautiful, but what was my father saying to her? Why does this girl like me so much? Is it possible that her father is very similar to me? Or am I a replacement? I trembled and asked, XS, do you look like your father? It's awkward. Dad is dad. I really look like her father, I understand. Definitely a replacement. My head is in chaos. Yin and Lu are university friends. She is the student union president and is also the girl of every guy's dream. Anyway, she meets all the standards of men. She is 1m75 tall, has a beautiful figure, and every tennis match of hers is filled with spectators. The beauty is also very beautiful. Occasionally, there are people out there who hunt for talent and give her business cards, wanting her to join the entertainment industry. Finally, her family is very rich and drives a Rolls Royce. Suddenly, it went dark in front of me. I don't know when Lu Nuyen hung up the phone and stood in front of me. Deep, emotional eyes looked at me. I took 2 steps back and swallowed. What did my dad say to you? Lu Nuyen frowned and then quickly adjusted. Nothing. In college, I was the vice president of the student union and was with Lu Nuyen for nearly 4 years. This look in her eyes is definitely. Maybe my dad scolded her, but that's not right either. What do Lu and Yin do? Even if I want to find a son-in-law, my conditions are a bit poor compared to hers. Thinking about the beautiful boy Ma who pursued her in college, I felt depressed and bowed my head. If my father really thought like that, he would have called me, and he couldn't calmly talk to Lu like Yin. At this time, Thua suddenly said, Dad, I'm hungry. I want to eat the egg fried rice you made. I feel awkward, seeing Lu as Yin since childhood. My mother has always been the cook. If the stove exploded the first time I went to her house, I probably wouldn't have a way to live. Luckily, Lu and Yin understood what I meant. Thua, go play in the garden. Mom and your dad go to the kitchen to cook, she said. Yes. Thua was very obedient, jumped down from the swing, and ran to the small lake to see the turtles. I followed her and went into the kitchen. The kitchen is very large, decorated in European style, and has a large window facing south, with a view of the entire garden. My house combined is only the size of her 2 kitchens. I stabilized my mood, rolled up my sleeves and prepared. Looking for ingredients for other dishes, I may not know how to make them, but I have seen my mother do it before. My father argued with my mother. My mother made egg fried rice for a week. My father obediently stopped arguing. I saw a beige apron hanging on the wall and was about to reach for it when Lu like Yin was 1 step faster than me. This apron clearly belonged to the owner of the house, as it reached down to her calves. Thinking of this, I felt a sting in my nose and was about to raise my hand to rub my eyes when I saw her handing me an apron. Lu Nuyen naturally said, Let me wear it for you. I looked at her, wanting to find some flaw in her face, but she hid it too well. It's like I'm really her husband. Hesitating for a moment, I still accepted the apron. I held both ends of the apron and approached, intending to put it on her. What's wrong? Lu Laikyan stared at me. Her eyes are very big. Her eyelashes are long and thin. His eyes make people immersed. I panicked a bit and turned away. Lu Nuyen smiled softly. I felt like my heart was about to jump out. Their eyes met. Her eyes were gentle and seductive. I froze and was about to step back when she put her arms around my waist and whispered, That's right. I was stunned and couldn't wait to put an apron on her. She tied a bow at her waist and let go of her hand contentedly. I dared to breathe a sigh of relief. My cheeks were hot. This is the reward. Lu Nuyen smiled softly in my ear. Her warm breath made my neck hot. A familiar image appeared in my mind, but I didn't have time to think and raised my hand to cover the spot she had just kissed. So hot. Lu Laikyan is truly the beauty queen of Tanhua School, wearing a white shirt and sitting in the library, very beautiful. Now holding the pan over the eggs is also nice. Tilting the water, I pressed it against my chest, afraid my heart would jump into her pan. I went out to see Thua for a bit, then ran away before she could answer. The kitchen is connected to the dining room. The dining room wall is full of photos. The biggest photo is a photo of Lu and Yin hugging each other. In the photo, I smile very brightly. She tilts her head to look at me. Her eyes are gentle and affectionate. Behind are my university classmates. My head was buzzing. Was all of this real? Why am I not impressed at all? Half a month ago, I was hospitalized once. My dad picked me up and said I had the flu and a high fever, so I had to stay in the hospital for observation. Maybe I don't have a fever, but am suffering from memory loss. On the wall, there are many photos of Thua Thua, from when he was little until he could walk. There is also a photo of me participating in the sports festival at my child's kindergarten. After looking at all the photos, I gradually calmed down. I'm actually married. My wife is Lu Nu Yen, my university goddess. And Thua Thua is my daughter. What's going on? A plate of egg fried rice with eggs and corn sausage only takes 10 minutes. But these 10 minutes feel like a century. Looking at the photos on the wall, from graduation, confession, proposal, then marriage, giving birth, it's so long. When I eat, I'm still in a daze. Although Lu and Yin are very nice, why is your face so red? Thua Thua raised his head, picked up the corn and put it in his mouth, and asked. I pretended not to hear. Lu Nu Yin looked at me and smiled. Dad, you're hot. It was early autumn and the window was open, but I didn't dare to argue. I just said, yes, to get it over with. After speaking, I felt Liu's hot eyes like Yin's. I lowered my head, thinking to myself that I was already married to the goddess. My daughter was 4 years old, so why be shy anymore? But these past few years I have no memories at all, as if I were still a university student. Looking at her makes my heart beat and my legs tremble. After eating, I wanted to go home to organize my thoughts, and I still had to ask my father clearly. But Thua Thua held my hand tightly, wanting me to play puzzles with her, then bathe her, and finally tell her a bedtime story. How could I refuse my biological daughter's big, round eyes? Hug her in your arms and give her a kiss. Thua Thua likes my kisses, she chuckled, and kissed me back a few times. After telling the story, she still tried to keep her eyes open and refused to sleep. Thua Thua, why aren't you sleeping? I asked. Dad, don't go. Thua Thua held my hand and whispered. Hearing this sentence, my eyes felt teary. Bend down and kiss the baby. Dad, I won't go. I will always be with you. Thua Thua peacefully fell asleep. I carefully got out of bed, covered her with a blanket, and gently closed the door. Lu Nu Yin had just finished bathing, came to my side, and asked in a low voice, Are you asleep? I nodded. Well, Thua Thua is very obedient. Lu Nu Yin smiled and patted my head. You're also very good. My face turned red again, and I was about to leave, but I remembered Thua Thua's words, so I tried to calmly ask, So where do I sleep tonight? Lu Nu Yin glanced at me, her eyes full of meaning. I was a little panicked. Lu Nu Yin pulled me into the bedroom and thoughtfully left clothes in the bathroom for me. She looked at me, the corners of her eyes raised slightly. Do you need me to teach you how to use it? No need. I blushed and pushed her out. She didn't say anything, obediently went out and closed the door. But her smile made my heart beat and my legs tremble. Looking at my red face in the mirror, I just wanted to get out and hide. After showering, I hesitantly opened the bathroom door, thinking he had been showering all night. Lu Yin suddenly appeared and covered my head with a towel. The tone was a bit teasing. Having my thoughts guessed, I felt a bit shy. Lu Nu Yin sat me down on the dressing table and used a towel to dry my hair. The scent was so pleasant. She must have done this many times. I looked at the high-end cosmetic bottles in front of me. My hair was almost completely dried. I was about to ask where the hairdryer was when she took hair conditioner and applied it to my hair. I feel touched. Why is she so good to me? Before, I didn't even dare to think about it in my dreams. What are you doing? I was feeling emotional when Lu and Yin helped me up, startling me and hugging her neck. Going to bed, Lu Nu Yin spoke briefly. Too quickly, I wasn't mentally prepared. Lu Yin looked at me with unpredictable eyes. If you mess up again, it's not just about going to sleep. I was immediately obedient. Lu Nu Yin sighed, not knowing if she was happy or sad. I lay down on the bed, pulling the blanket over my head. There was a noise next to me, and the bed sank a bit. I was scared and hugged the blanket tighter. Share the blanket with me. Lu Yin's helpless voice rang out next to her. I was scared, didn't dare to move. Lu Nu Yin sat up and pulled my blanket away. The dark world suddenly became bright. I was a bit stunned. Lu Yin looks just as beautiful in pajamas. I swallowed my saliva, seeing her smiling eyes without smiling. Isn't it beautiful? I almost blurted out, beautiful, but swallowed it back. I turned around, silently chanting, form is emptiness. Trying to endure, I must endure. But the more I thought, the more her image appeared in my mind. Her smile pierced my heart even more. There was still a faint scent of her after bathing in the air, making me restless and unable to sleep. I gently turned around. Can't sleep? Let me hug you to sleep. Lu like Yin's voice rang out. If she hugs me to sleep, I can't sleep even more. I quickly moved a little away from her. Anyway, there was something about her that attracted me. Suddenly, a small hand hugged my waist, pulling me closer, feeling her strong heartbeat. I held my breath, and if I moved any further, I would fall onto the bed. Lu Nuyen spoke softly in my ear, her voice a bit hoarse. I didn't dare move. The two people's heartbeats harmonize. I felt hot and dizzy, so I quickly removed her hand and escaped her embrace. It's so hot, so hot. I felt something coming out of my nose. Touch it once, it's sticky. What's up? Lu Nuyen asked. I sat up and covered my nose. Looks like I'm having a nosebleed. Even though it was dark, I felt Lu and Yin startle. She sat up, turned on the night light, took a tissue and gave it to me. She didn't laugh, but she was more embarrassed than smiling. She was trying not to laugh. Although it was very quiet, I could still hear it. I was embarrassed to death, even more embarrassed than when I was caught red-handed. I'm very sorry. This morning, don't eat the goji berry pigeon soup that my father stewed. I don't want to explain, I just want to die. She was very thoughtful, went into the bathroom to get a wet towel, and gave it to me. I raised my head, covered my nose with a scarf, looked at the foot of the house under the dim light, despairing. I thought tonight would be a sleepless night. How can I sleep when I'm so embarrassed? Unexpectedly, after being embarrassed, I fell asleep very quickly. In my dream, I felt warm around me. Something warm touched my forehead. I have someone whispering in my ear. Good night. Good night. I fell asleep dreamily, thinking it was a dream. Why did I get married and have children with a goddess? The next morning, I was awakened by a warm feeling on my waist. I have Liu's small hand like Yin. Her chin rested on my head. I panicked and tried to push her away, but I thought about last night's nosebleed and my restless sleep. I feel sorry again. Although I like Lu as much as Yin, this unexpected intimacy made me very uncomfortable. I blinked, took a deep breath, and carefully felt her hand move away. But the hand on my waist tightened. Are you awake? Sleep a little longer. Lu Yin's hoarse voice rang in my ears. I obediently lay still, but I was afraid my nose would bleed again. After all, I've been drinking my dad's nutritious soup for 3 days in a row. Lu Nuyen opened her eyes and looked at me with a puzzled expression. Heart beating so fast. What are you nervous about? I patted her on the back. I'm afraid my monthly salary of 000 yuan isn't enough compensation. Lu Nuyen saw that I was stiff and not moving, so she leaned close to my ear. Her warm breath made me goosebumps. I can't bear the excess, let alone me. If Lu and I were like Yin, before I could finish my sentence, I jumped out of bed and ran out of the room without even having time to put on my shoes. Where is the cold, arrogant goddess? I wanted to die. My mother and father ran so fast. I was holding the teddy bear, eyes wide open. I can die. Lu like Yin's softly laughing voice rang out behind me. Now let's all die. I want to escape this damn world, but fate is choking me. Lu like Yin picked up my nightgown, pulled me to the sofa, squatted down, wiped my feet, and put on my slippers. Don't catch a cold. Her palm was so warm that I felt like my legs were about to burn. After putting on my shoes, I embarrassedly carried the leftovers to wash my face. She uses a toothbrush shaped like a small dinosaur. I use a toothbrush shaped like Father Man. Seeing the toothbrush shaped like a little princess next to it, although childish, it is very warm and sweet. Thua Van stood on a chair, his mouth full of toothpaste foam, and whispered, Dad is thank Father Man. I am a little dinosaur. Mom is a princess. Let's protect Mom together. This sentence makes me feel sweet in my heart. Lu and Yin's breakfast is very delicious. Fried eggs are golden and crispy. Egg noodles are simple, but very cozy. And there are soft-boiled eggs, which I like the most. I look at Lu as Yin. She was also looking at me. The corners of her eyes were slightly raised. The corners of her mouth were smiling. I panicked and was about to bend down to eat noodles when the phone rang. To Cam, you're very good. If you don't come home, just send a text message and don't even call. Did you see what Dad said? My father's earth-shattering voice rang out from the phone, but it seemed like my father was not surprised that I was at Liu's house like Yin. I covered the phone and said in a low voice, "I'll be back later, Dad." At this point, I was satisfied and hung up the phone. Liu Yin lowered her eyes and continued eating breakfast. This small action of hers showed that she had something to say. "Why don't you say it directly?" After she finished eating, she used a tissue to wipe her mouth, jumped off the chair, held my hand and cooed. "Your dad finished eating, so you naturally rubbed her belly, smiled and asked, 'Are you full?' 'Yes, I'm full. I'm going to school,' said redundant. So good. I stretched out my hand. I knew she wanted me to hold her. I bent down, picked her up, took the opportunity to kiss my face, and then brought my face closer. Seeing that I didn't react, she touched her face. Dad kissed all the lipstick. I melted, kissed her and said, "It smells so good." Liu Yin looked at me, her eyes hot, her body also slightly leaning towards me. I swallowed my saliva. The goddess took the initiative to ask for a kiss. I licked my lips and kissed her cheek. But I didn't expect her to turn around, and I kissed her on the lips. Liu Yin was stunned. Her hand that was about to carry the baby also stopped. "I'm so embarrassed, I cover my eyes too much." Liu Yin smiled softly. "Same in the future." I froze. It turned out she didn't want me to kiss her, but was planning to carry her. I don't know how many times this is the first time I've stood still, arriving at the kindergarten gate. Teacher inherited a kiss and hugged my neck. I coddled my dad. "If you're good today, will Dad pick you up after school?" Who would refuse? I nodded immediately. Such a lovely girl, she must definitely welcome her. At this point, I was satisfied and walked into school. "If you promise a child, you must keep it." Liu Yin said. I raised my hand. Of course I have never broken a promise. Liu Yin looked at me with a complicated expression. I found her a bit resentful, like an abandoned wife. Liu Yin took me home. As soon as I entered the door, I saw my father picking vegetables on the balcony. Seeing me return, he just glanced at me. "Are you back?" I brought a small chair closer to help him pick vegetables. "Dad, what's the matter? Why are you already married, and why do you still make me go on a blind date? Do you still have a daughter? Do you have memory loss? Why do I lose my memory?" I asked a series of questions. My father glanced at me. "You ask so many questions, how can I answer them?" I have enough patience to listen to my father slowly. Leave him alone. My father was picking vegetables and telling me about half a month ago. When he received the news and rushed to the hospital, I lost my memory. Then he took me home. I still ate, drank, and slept normally. I just forgot about getting married and having a daughter. My father didn't like Liu Yin and was afraid that saying something would stimulate my memory, so he chose to stay silent during that time. Liu Yin often came to visit me, but my father always refused because she didn't take good care of me. As for the blind date, it was entirely because he asked for help to make Liu Yin jealous. But I must say that the actor's acting was so good that I believed it was real. But why I adapted to this, my father and mother do not know. Although it was very mysterious, I quickly accepted it. I then spent the afternoon searching for information about temporary memory loss online. That afternoon, Liu Yin came to pick me up after school. My dad even poured water for her. The two of them talked very normally, but my intuition told me there was something they were hiding from me. But these two people kept their mouths shut and did not reveal anything. It's a bit frustrating, but it's probably not a big problem that can be solved. The road was a bit congested, so there was plenty waiting for me at the gate. Staring for a long time, seeing me get off the bus, she happily ran over. "Dad, I was very good today. The teacher even rewarded me with a red flower." Having finished speaking, she carefully took out the red flower from her bag and gave it to me. Her sweet voice made me melt. "That's great," I said and kissed her face. Thua Duk looked at me and Liu Yin, his eyes mischievous. "Let's go, what do you want?" Liu Yin smiled and asked. Chung Ying immediately raised his hand. "I want to go to an amusement park and buy a small lake." It seemed like she had planned this in advance. The amusement park is very bustling at night. I remember that in the past, Liu Yin did not like crowded places, but now she can stand in the crowd, buy me ice cream, and have plenty. Seeing Snow White holding a bow-shaped mane of hair, she liked it so much that she got one each for me and Liu Yin. Liu Yin frowned slightly and reluctantly put it on. I couldn't help but laugh. Liu Yin looked at me. "Don't laugh." Even though she said that, she still took out her phone to hug me and took extra pictures of her family. Her eyes lit up. People say that if you make a vow at the top of the Ferris wheel at night with your loved one, you will be together forever. Looking out into the distance from the transparent cabin, everything is small. Mom, I rubbed my head and felt a little pain. This pain seems very familiar. What's wrong? Does your head hurt again? Lu Like-yin asked me worriedly. Looking at her, I saw her stand up and sit next to me. I was a little panicked. Lu Nu-yin touched my forehead. Seeing that I didn't have a fever, she breathed a sigh of relief. Tomorrow I'll take you to the hospital for a checkup. Although the doctor said you just need to rest, and the tumor will disappear on its own. But it's still in the brain anyway. Looking at her thin lips, I couldn't hear what she said clearly. I just felt stunned. Her lips must be very soft. Thinking of this, I reached out and pulled her collar. She leaned forward. My hot lips pressed against hers. She really has very soft lips. Lu Nu-yin was stunned by my sudden kiss for a moment, and then quickly reacted. His hand hugged the back of my neck, enthusiastically responding. Chung was shocked by this scene and covered his eyes. Mom, you're so naughty. Don't let me see. Lu Nu-yin took the opportunity to say, excessive, there is a plane out there. He immediately turned around and glanced at the window to look for the plane. I gasped and fell into Liu's arms like Yin. Your stick has hit your back? Lu Like-yin is really too attractive. After this kiss, plus the past few days spent with her, I also clearly understood my feelings. Whether she has lost her memory or not, she is still the Lu Like-yin that I love the most. That night, after getting some sleep, I took a shower and came out to see Lu Like-yin changing the bed sheets. I quickly turned away, pretending I didn't see the blood on the bed sheet. Remembering last night, I was really embarrassed and wanted to apparate. Lu Nu-yin smiled softly. I threw a pillow at her. She seemed to have eyes growing from behind her back and quickly caught it. My face turned red. After changing the bed sheet, she quickly went to bed, covered herself with a fake blanket, and fell asleep. I heard the sound of running water and was imagining it when Lu Like-yin's voice rang out from the bathroom. To Cam, help me get the pajamas on the bed. I looked at the pajamas on the bed, thinking to myself that she was definitely trying to trick me into going into the bathroom. No, I won't give it for the rest of my life. Lu Like-yin waited for a while, but didn't see me handing over the things, so she wrapped a towel and walked out. Her hair was wet and sticking to her head. Kin Xian caught my eye. I covered my eyes in surprise, but still peeked through my fingers. Swallowing saliva, Lu Nu-yin bent down to pick up the clothes on the bed. If you want to see, just look. I hesitated a bit, then put my hand down. Sure enough, it looks much clearer. Being stared at by me like that, Lu Like-yin felt a bit embarrassed and went to the bathroom. I smiled slightly, thinking she was very stubborn. You remember now? Lu Nu-yin walked out of the bathroom, got on the bed, stole a pillow from me, found a comfortable position and shook her head. No, I can only remember a few paragraphs. Lu Nu-yin reached out to hug me, but stopped midway, looked at me with a puzzled expression and sighed. Okay, go to sleep. I blinked at her. Wasn't it explosive last night? Why are you silent now? Lu Nu-yin covered my eyes, her voice trembling slightly. Don't look at me like that. My face was red and I curled up in the blanket like a silkworm. I heard the noise again. She got up and went to the bathroom. This time it's a cold shower. The air is cold. Lu Nu-yin got on the bed, turned around and hugged my waist, rubbing her chin against my neck like a pampered puppy. Have a good night's sleep. Having finished speaking, she closed her eyes. I opened my eyes wide and reached out to touch her eyelashes. After teasing me for a while, she helplessly opened her eyes, grabbed my hand, her voice a bit hoarse. What do you want to do? I smiled. Even though I don't remember many things, I remember I love you. Lu Like-yin held my hand tighter. His eyes sparkled like a galaxy. Even if you don't remember, I still love you. I melted and kissed the clouds. Lu Like-yin turned on the night light and pointed to her lips. This place hurts a bit. I looked closer and saw that her lips were scratched. I'm shocked. Isn't this the moment you kissed her on the Ferris wheel and got bitten? I was extremely embarrassed. My face was red. Lu Nu-yin looked at me with an interested expression. You're also violent. I put my hand over her mouth, afraid she would say something provocative again. Yin held my hand. I used my other hand to cover her mouth. In the end, both my hands were controlled by her. It's too dangerous. Lu Like-yin leaned close to me, our eyes looking at each other. I can even count her eyelashes. I panicked and pushed her away, my heart felt like it was about to jump out of my chest. Lu like Yin didn't resist and was pushed away by me, but those hot eyes made me unable to look away. When I came to my senses, I kissed her. This time, Lu like Yin couldn't hold back anymore. Her low, hoarse voice made me lose my mind. To Cam, this is your initiative. The morning sunlight shines into my eyes. The person next to me is no longer there. Hearing footsteps, the door opened. Dad, wake up. Mom has finished making breakfast. Today's breakfast includes soy milk, small dumplings, and leftovers. After breakfast, take the extra time and drag me out to the garden. Yes, she loves playing with little turtles and keeps chirping and talking to turtles in the lake. Your father is home. Your father is very good. He took you to the amusement park, ate ice cream, and bought a little tiger. I sat on the swing, watching the little girl perform on her own, smiling. It's true that raising children online. So good, the way down to the water. Lu Nu Yin finished washing the dishes, placed a cup of hot water in front of her, and gave her a kiss. Mom and Dad are here to play with me. As Yin said, Willow was very happy and took the little turtle to see the flowers. Lu like Yin walked up behind me and gently pushed the swing. Should you push it a little higher? Lu like Yin hesitated for a moment, then lowered her eyes. No, it's dangerous. At this moment, the master ran over holding a small turtle. Dad, you have to be obedient, otherwise you'll fall again. I was stunned, images rushed back. Lu Nu Yin immediately stopped the swing, ran to hug me, and asked worriedly, is your head hurting again? Let's go to the hospital. I quickly held her hand. I'm okay, let me blow for Dad. He won't be in pain anymore. He took my hand, I hugged him and comforted him. Baby, Dad's okay. Lu Nu Yin looked at me with a worried expression. I smiled and held her hand. I remember now. Lu and Yin's eyes lit up, seemingly still not reassured. Remember everything? Remember you are my wife. You are my daughter. I smiled and nodded. Remember I love you. Lu Nu Yin was stunned. Her face turned slightly red, and she coughed lightly. I love you even more. I sat up dissatisfied. No way. I love you more. Lu like Yin looked at me. Are you sure? I am pleased. I lost my memory but still love you, so I love you twice as much. Listen to me completely. Lu and Yin did not object and kissed me very respectfully. Surplus ran over holding a can of gold peaches. Dad, eat peaches and you'll get better. Every time I get sick, I make a mess when I take medicine. Yellow peaches are better than cold medicine. Lu like Yin opened the can of peaches, took the biggest piece for me to eat. The second piece is given as extra. Even though she was a little hungry, she still gave it to me. If Dad is sick, if he eats more, he will recover quickly. Yellow peaches are sweet, but leftovers are even sweeter. That night, I took them home for dinner. Remember? My father snorted. The extra grandpa hugged my dad and gave me a kiss. My dad was immediately happy. My beloved granddaughter is here. Please make sweet and sour ribs for me. The phrase I love my niece more than my son to describe my dad is accurate and doesn't need to be adjusted. In my entire life, I have never been picked up by my dad. So are you still jealous of the extra? Lu like Yin hugged her waist. I asked, smiling. I sighed. Okay, no need to fight with my biological daughter. My mother came home from the market, saw Lu and Yin being affectionate, smiled, and said, to Cam, come quickly and see what I bought for you. I'll make you some steamed fish. She also said I spoiled her too much. Look at you pampering to Cam. He's grown up and knows how to take care of himself. My father objected. Even though Cam is all grown up, I'm still a child. After my mother spoke, the sound of their arguing rang out in the kitchen again. I said jealously, I hope when we're 60 years old we'll still be as affectionate. Lu like Yin hugged my waist and whispered in my ear. I'm sure. Who can stand these sweet words? I was about to secretly kiss her, but I covered my eyes. It's so embarrassing. Dad secretly kissed Mom. My old face kissed Lu like Yin in front of my daughter. He ran over and wanted to kiss me. Lu Nu Yin smiled, hugged us, and pointed to the balcony. The mother-in-law's rose has already bloomed. After dinner, when I got home, an uninvited guest came. It's my father-in-law. He was wearing an expensive suit and was still as arrogant as ever, but his eyes looked at me a little apologetically. Before I could react, Lu and Yin turned cold. He was still standing in front of me, watching mother and daughter protect me. I smiled softly and patted Liu's shoulder like Yin. It's okay, put the leftovers inside. I think Dad has something to tell you. Lu Nuyen frowned. Seeing my determination, she immediately brought the leftovers inside to wait. Lu and Yin disappeared. My father-in-law looked at me with a calmer expression. To Cam, you won. During this time, I took extra care of her. I see that you raised her very well. Nuyen's thoughts were also placed on you. I thought she just married you on a whim. The truth has proven she has never been one to joke around. Listening to my father-in-law, I smiled. Is it possible that we both win, my dear? And like Yin, they all become better thanks to their opponents. Furthermore, your daughter is also very good. Otherwise, she wouldn't be my college goddess. Thank you for raising her to be a good person. It seemed he didn't expect me to say that. My father-in-law was stunned and his eyes turned slightly red. We looked at each other and smiled. Everything doesn't need to be said to be understood. Finally, my father-in-law said sorry to me and left. As soon as I entered the house, I was hugged by Lu Yin. It turns out she hasn't left yet. I didn't even know Lu, as Yin had secretly loved me since college. When Lu Nuyen heard those words, I blushed. I confess, yes, Lu and Yin and I secretly love each other. After my father-in-law left, Lu and Yin and I sat on the sofa, with her husband playing puzzles next to us. Why didn't you tell me? Lu Nuyen looked at me, her eyes somewhat reproachful. I scratched my head. I just remembered. Lu Nuyen smiled and leaned on my shoulder. So we secretly loved each other all 4 years of college. I nodded. That's right. I thought you didn't like me. Me too. Lu like Yin said. At that time I was so stupid, I didn't understand whatever you meant. I laughed. Now I understand. Lu like Yin looked at me with sweet eyes. So what are you going to do now? I held her hand. Make it up to me. Lu Nuyen smiled. Okay. Redundant came running. Your parents are done packing. Lu and Yin and I looked at each other, smiled, and played together. Life after memory recovery is sweet. Lu and Yin are more affectionate than before. Excess is also very fun. I took Lu like Yin and took her to travel to places we had never been to. We watched the sunrise together on the sea, climb mountains together, and explore new things together. Lu Nuyen and I celebrated our 5th wedding anniversary, inviting friends and relatives to celebrate. I gave Lu and Yin a diamond ring. Thank you for always being by my side. Lu Nuyen smiled. Me too. He ran to hug my leg. My parents love you too. Lu and Yin, like me, hold the surplus in our hearts. Mom and Dad love you too. Our life is filled with laughter and happiness. Time passes quickly. I'm already in elementary school. She is very smart, studies well, and was even chosen for the school's math team. Lu and Yin and I are very proud of our daughter. One day, he returned home with a mysterious look on his face. My parents have something to tell you too. What's going on? Lu and Yin and I looked at each other. I have you. Excessive said. Lu and I stood still like Yin. Really? I asked. Excess nodded. Mom told me. I looked at Lu as Yin. She smiled and nodded. I hugged Lu like Yin in my arms. Thank you. Lu Nuyen smiled. Thank you. Surplus ran to hug. My younger brother. Pat her on the head. Okay, I'll try. Lu like Yin smiled. Don't force her. I smiled. I know. A year later, Lu Nuyen gave birth to a handsome baby boy. He loves his younger brother very much and often plays with him. Our family became more crowded and bustling. Lu and Yin together take care of our 2 children and experience the sweet moments of life together. We grew old together, watched our children grow up and get married together. Our life is simple but full of happiness. Lu and Yin and I held hands and walked on the beach, watching the sunset. Thank you for coming to me, I said. Lu Nuyen smiled. Thank you for loving me. We looked at each other, our eyes full of love. This is the sweetest ending of our love story.